I've started in the Legislation and Issues Overview dashboard. It's showing legislation by type and issues by priority. On the left side, I can see that there are currently 3 active legislation records, 2 bills and 1 resolution. I can drill down into the chart to see additional information. In this case, we want to see the concerned departments for the active bills. We can now see that of the 2 bills, one is associated with DPW and one is associated with public safety. I can view the chart full screen by clicking the Enlarge the Chart icon. I can return to the Legislation and Issues Overview dashboard by clicking the Close icon. Below that chart, I can see the same active legislation in a list. I can click on one to go directly to that legislation record. We'll cover this in just a moment. On the right side of the screen, we see a chart showing issues by priority, high, normal and low. I'd like to view the origin for only the 11 normal priority issues, so I can drill down into this chart by clicking on the red portion of the chart, selecting Origin and clicking the Go button. Of the 11 normal priority issues, 7 originated by phone, 2 by email and 2 via the web. I can also view this chart full screen by clicking the Enlarge the Chart icon. I can further drill down into this chart by clicking on Phone, then Case Type. We can see that of the 7 normal priority issues that originated by phone, 6 are of the case type Problem and 1 is of the case type Question. We can click the back icon to change our chart filtering criteria, or the Home icon to return to the original chart showing issues by priority. I'm going to close this chart, which returns us to the dashboard. Next, we're going to look at organisations and constituents. On the organisation screen, we can manage the organisation name, account number, primary contact, email address, phone numbers, website, and address information. There is a text area for a description of the organisation and a list of all the contacts associated with the organisation, should there be more people than just the primary contact. There's also a Preferences tab where contact methods can be managed. Notice that this organisation prefers email and does not allow regular mail. I'm going to close the organisation screen and move on to Constituents now. On the Constituents screen, we can manage the constituents' information, such as name and job title, phones, address information, and personal information such as gender. If the constituent is associated with any existing issues, they will show up in the Related Issues tab. Next, we'll move on to legislation. The default view is of active legislation. We can see that there are currently 3, and we can see information such as title, type, category, dates, legislation number, and sponsor. Along the right side of the screen, we have the option to view the chart. Clicking on the tab causes the chart to expand. We have the same drill down capability that we saw earlier on the dashboard. Clicking on the legislation type Resolution filters the records by that type. Clicking on the legislation type Bill also filters the record by that type. We are going to look more closely at a specific bill that was introduced to decrease the speed limit on county roads. The legislation screen tracks information such as title and category, a legislation number which could be auto-generated, date and time the record was created in the system, the concerned department which we saw in the dashboard at the beginning of this demo, and a legislation type, bill or resolution. In the sponsor section, we can manage the relationships between the legislation and people, such as sponsor, co-sponsor, and legislative assistant, and the introduction date and public hearing date. There is also an area for internal comments. There can be amendments to legislation, and any existing ones will show in the Amendments tab. To add a new amendment, simply click Amendments and then click Add New Amendment. The new amendment now shows in the Amendments tab. Amendments can also be made to other amendments. If we select the amendment that we just created, we can add a new amendment to it. Next, we'll move on to testimonies. Testimonies can be associated with a legislation. Any existing testimonies will show in the Testimonies tab, and the new testimonies can be added by clicking on Testimonies. We can now see the testimony listed on this legislation record. Next, we'll look at votes. Before legislation can be passed, it must be voted on by council members. In this example, there are 5 council members, and we can see that votes have already been recorded for 4 of them. I'm now going to record the last vote by selecting council member and their choice of vote: yes, no, absent, or abstain. The 5th council member has voted against this bill, so I'm going to select no from the option list. The new vote shows in the Votes tab, and there are a total of 5 votes for this bill: 2 yes and 3 no. Auditing of data is vital, and I can click Audit History to view all modifications, including date and time of change, the name of the person who made the change, and the fields that were changed, including old value and new value. Let's look at the detail of an audit record. On the Audit Record Detail screen, we can see that the title has been changed to include Maple Lane, which is the name of the specific county road associated with this bill. We can also see who made the change and the date and time that the change was made. Auditing will also keep track of things such as vote changes. For example, a council member may change their vote from yes to no, or no to abstain. Testimonies and amendments can also be audited in the same way. We've gone from a dashboard with metrics across all legislation and issues, into the details of one legislation, and all the way down to the associated amendments, testimonies, and council votes. All inside the same solution, and without any special user skills. For more information on the Legislature Issue Management solution, please visit us on the web at go-planet.com or send us an email to info@go-planet.com.